afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Benjamin, and I'm pleased to be your host for today's webinar session, where you will learn more about the MSc in Food Science and Human Nutrition program. First of all, on behalf of the entire NUS team, I would like to thank everyone for taking time out of your schedules to join us virtually today. You know, in the normal scheme of things, we would have loved to meet you physically. However, as you all know, that will not be possible right now. But technology is a wonderful thing, and the new normal has pushed us to innovate and adapt. So much so that you can now enjoy today's session from the comfort of your homes, wherever you may be. And having a quick glance of the audience today, I think we have a pretty diverse group of attendees. I am seeing students from Singapore, China, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, and even Europe. So thank you once again for joining us today, and I promise you that you will be in for a real treat. If you are someone looking to further your interests, studies, or career in the food science and technology areas, then look no further than the Department of Food Science and Technology at the National University of Singapore. A true pioneer in the sector, the department offered Singapore's first degree in food science and technology back in 1999 and is currently the only food science and technology department in Singapore's entire university sector. Joining us today to share more about the department, its accomplishments, and the MSc program itself will be Associate Professor Yang Hong Shun. Associate Professor Yang. Thank you. Associate Professor Yang is a current faculty member of the FST department, having obtained his PhD in Refrigeration and Cryogenics Engineering from Shanghai Jiao Tong University. He then went on to do a second PhD in Food Science from the University of Minnesota and served as a faculty research assistant at the University of Maryland before joining NUS in 2013. Associate Professor Yang's research interests includes food processing, safety engineering, and foodomics. So before I hand the controls over to Associate Professor Yang, I would just like to remind the audience to please share any questions that you might have in the chat section below, and we will then tackle them later in a dedicated Q&A segment after the presentation. With that said, and without further ado, please allow me to hand the time over to Associate Professor Yang. Over to you, Professor.
Thank you, Benjamin. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, good night. Depends on your currently which country you are in. And now I'm glad to share with you our program information. Okay, today I would like to share with our information about this master program in food science and human nutrition, because some of the information you can visit our website. So I will focus on some information that you are not easily to know, right? So I would like to focus a little bit more on this part. Of course, we will have a Q&A, so if you have any further questions, feel free to ask me. So for those who are not in Singapore, you may know some information from our university, but maybe not much. So here is the general profile of our university. We do have we are a pretty huge university, right? So it's a public university, so we have a lot of undergraduate students, for example, more than 30K. And then we do have graduate students more than 10K. So you can understand the university is pretty big. And our vision is a leading global university shaping the future. That's why we say that we welcome students from in Singapore or from our other countries to studying here. And some other information, of course, some other like a ranking, whatever, you can easily to get this kind of information by just Google it. So for our program, of course, we have been this kind of major, for example, food science and technology for more than 20 years. Okay, of course, it's still pretty young compared to other departments like mathematics or chemistry, right? But in Singapore, it's a kind of pretty long history. Right? And currently we have more than around 200 undergraduate students, of course, for 4 years. So you can understand roughly each year each grade, we have around 50 or 60 undergraduate students. And we have around 170 postgraduate students, roughly 70 PhD students, 15 research master students, and around 85 coursework master. So today we will focus more on this kind of coursework master program. And we do have, our program actually is certified by IUFOST. IUFOST is an international union of food science and technology. That means it's an international organization that to evaluate, for example, you said that your program is for the major of food science and technology student. So then they will evaluate this kind of curriculum to see whether it matches with the international standard. So that means once you get this one, we get certified. So you starting from here will be recognized easily by other universities or other countries, right? And as we know, this our department is the first and only department of food science and technology in the university sector in Singapore. And our department is kind of different from many others. Is strongly supported by and in close collaboration with industry and the government organizations. So then for some of the courses, so the professors actually are adjunct professors from industry or from government organizations. So then you can learn the information, not just the more like a theory, but also some practical training. So they have this kind of experience from both industry or government sectors. And we do have strong collaborations with many industry partners. So if you I think you can get some information from our website, but not all. The reason is that some of the collaboration with industry partners is confidential. So then normally we don't like release such information from the website. So this is you can have a look about our professors. So then our administration staff. So we do have full-time academic staff members. For example, here I just selected some of them. And then we do have some professors who are from School of Public Health, and they will also teach some courses. So here I didn't list them. So adjunct professors, as I mentioned, there's some of them from government sectors, for example, the food agency in Singapore, and then some others from industry. For example, this professor, Peter Wong. Professor Wong graduated from Cornell University with PhD related to flavor science. And he also owns a company in Singapore that is named Cash Roberts, so about fragrance. So of course, he also teaches some courses here. So then, of course, he has both academic and industry experience. And we do have technical and administration team. So especially when you are running some practical sessions or run research projects, so then our staff members will help you for the lab sessions as well as for some, choose the modules or to check your progress or the graduation requirements. So we do have staff members here. And before I introduce to you the master program, I would like to introduce some general information on our department so you can have a better view on our department and about our education and research. So for undergraduates, we do have the different kind of modules. Of course, we know that for undergraduate study, even though you are studying food science and technology, you are not just taking all the modules in food science and technology. You still need to take some core modules from the university or from some other departments, right? But here I just want to say that for food science and technology, what kind of modules you will learn, for undergraduate here. So we learn food safety, new product development, food processing, and human nutrition. So you can have a like um, idea that now is for our undergraduate student, what kind of their learning. And now if you are planning for the master degree, you will know that, okay, whether some of the information is kind of missing, so you can have an opportunity here. For example, you want to have taken some more related to this kind of component. If you previously, for example, if you're not a full science background, but if you are full science background, you can check, for example, whether you have taken the modules related to these different parts. And as I mentioned, we get this kind of certified by IU-FORCE. And for undergraduate, we do have different as we mentioned, we have strong support from industry. So I don't want to emphasize too much for the undergraduate category. But the student have the opportunity to work on different with the industry partners. For master students, you also have this kind of opportunity. So we just say, because some of the times this kind of project we can divide into several sub projects. So some with the undergraduate student to take, some with the postgraduate student to take to work on these kind of different projects. So a student can visit outside. Of course, now it's during COVID-19. Some of this kind of on-site visit has been canceled. And for the research profile, I would like to introduce this because you will do some with the project basis. So we will introduce that. So you can have two options, one with the research project basis. Another one is that with the integrated lab basis. But no matter whether it's a research project or it's a kind of lab component, you will know you will involve in some of this kind of research profile at our department. So you can have a general understanding about, for example, this kind of our department. We have different kind of research directions. Actually, it covers, for example, chemistry analysis, microbiology and safety, and the food processing, engineering, and the human nutrition. So of course, then when you choose your project or choose this kind of lab component, so then you will have an idea, okay, what kind of experiment we will do, right? So if you are choosing research project basis, you can choose one of them, right? So of course, some of the project, maybe it can cover from both directions, right? So you can understand, for example, organic food processing, maybe you need to understand some food microbiology knowledge, and then some others with processing, and also maybe you can have the nutritional evaluation, right? So it depends on specific project nature. But another one is for integrated lab component. So then we will have at least one lab session from each of these kind of different kind of directions. So then, for example, you will learn some lab skills related to chemistry and analysis, some with the food microbiology and safety, some with the processing and engineering. So your learning is more like a pretty balanced. So that means for industry, if you want to find a job from industry, then you can have this kind of knowledge, not just the one specific of lab techniques, but pretty general from different parts. So then you can adapt to this kind of new environment very easily. So then some of the general specific information for our faculty members, I just want to briefly introduce their research fields. So you can have an idea that if you are admitted, so then what kind of project or lab component maybe you can do. So because we have this kind of expertise, right? So you can learn this kind of different research fields in a short time. So for example, Prof. Huang actually is about the novel bioactive components, and then for some, especially from some tropical edible plants. And he also has the company, okay, owns a company in Singapore, both in Singapore and Suzhou, China. So then he has also has some experience from like industry experience. And Prof. Kim, actually, her research is about human nutrition, and you can understand that our program major name, right, is food science and human nutrition. So her research is about human nutrition and also medical nutrition therapy, and then about aging, for example, how to control this kind of aging or how to understand more about our dietary strategies against these kind of age-associated morbidities. So for instance, and then for example, aging is now is a hot topic, right? So how to deal with this kind of aging. So then, of course, nutrition is one part that is pretty important. Of course, we do have some other parts, for example, mental health. So then you will have the opportunity to work with many others. For example, if you are studying with one project, and then you will have the opportunity to work with others from different background to collaborate with each other. And Dr. Liang Laiping, actually, her research is about shelf life. We know that for food product, shelf life is very important. So then, of course, another one is how to understand this kind of shelf life and how to extend it, right? So now we know that many of the food products, their shelf life may be pretty limited, especially, for example, in Singapore, the temperature is pretty high, and then the humidity is also pretty high. So then many food items, their shelf life is pretty limited. So then how to extend this kind of shelf life. And another one is how to calculate, right? Before you can extend it, you want to know, for example, from this kind of labeling, maybe you can see that this kind of shelf life is 1 year, but for the actual scenario, this one might not be true, right? Because the company can only give you a standard, that is a reference only. But now, if you are working, for example, you put a food in Singapore, you need to understand what's the actual shelf life here. So then you can make an advice decision. So whether this one is still edible or how long it can last. For example, now it's pretty to the end of the shelf life. Then what kind of approach that we can extend it? And probably that her research is about food microbiology and safety. So we know that especially for foodborne virus, okay, we know that COVID-19 is also caused by a virus, but the other one is from medical sector, right? So food sector, we do have some other virus. So we know that some of the virus, especially, for example, seafood or some fresh vegetable, if once you consume this kind of unhygiene products, then you may get, the kind of disease. So this kind of disease, some are caused by bacteria, while others are caused by virus. So then you know how to rapid detect disease, and then of course how to control it, right? So what kind of antimicrobial strategies that we can do to control it? And Dr. Liu Meihui, her research is about nutrition as well. So for example, insulin resistance in Asia. And then for example, some of the Asian food, especially for example, some of the food item relevant to Singapore. So then what kind of strategies we can do to control this kind of insulin resistance, for instance. So I think you are pretty familiar with this kind of Singapore dietary habits. If you are Singaporean or if you are from Southeast Asian countries, maybe you are pretty familiar with these different high food items. So now is that how to incorporate with this kind of different active ingredients and to achieve our purpose. And Prof. Liu Shaoquan, his research is about fermentation and the flavor. The flavor, I know you may be very familiar with the, different kind of food items. Why it smells like apple or smells like a strawberry may not be fooling just with the fruit of the strawberry, right? But we can consider how to get the molecules that can simulate the flavor of this kind of strawberry. or with some of the, for example, with the beer or with some of these kind of wine, soy wine, how to add more functions, right? For example, with the probiotics. So we know that these kind of probiotics are pretty good to our health. So then how to incorporate this kind of wine to this kind of food item or beverages, or just an alcoholic beverage or some just a non-alcoholic beverage. So for the detailed information, I don't want to read the slides. The reason is that this session is to give you the general information only. So if you have further interest, you can visit our website to know more about the detailed research project. This is for my work. My work is the one for processing. So for example, organic food. So now we know that organic food now is pretty popular, and then it's not just that you have the organic food ingredient and then you can get organic final product. The reason is that for food processing, you will use different kind of additives or water or any other components. So how to make sure this one meets with the requirement, right? And then how once we get this kind of byproduct, we know when we process the food product, you get a lot of byproduct. So how to utilize this? For example, seafood. Once you are processing seafood, you get a lot of byproducts like scales, skin, bones, whatever. How to better utilize this, and then you can alleviate the environment issue as well as to get the useful component to achieve the sustainable food processing. Right. And ingredient replacement, for instance, in Southeast Asian countries, I think you know that we do have people with multiple religious background, right? So then how to achieve, how to serve the people without this kind of limitation. For example, some people may not be, due to religious reasons, they cannot consume pork or pork byproduct, then how to develop some other ingredient to replace it. And for safety engineering, so then our lab is interested in to develop some of the portable sanitizing equipment. Okay, now because of the COVID-19, I think every day we are pretty worried about this kind of how to sanitize our hands or sanitize the, your desk or whatever, right? So then one question is how to get this kind of small units and with a pretty effective of the sanitizers in food industry. And then of course, pretty green, right? So our technology, we just use the table salt. So then you can generate sanitizer. It's not like you get this kind of bleach from the supermarket. The other one, I think you don't want to use a lot for your food items. And some others, for example, how to get the detection of some food hazards in a short time, for example, pesticide or some toxins. We want to develop some technologies that you can get information in a short time. For instance, we work with Wilmar, so one of the global 500 Fortune companies. So then we work with them how to detect some hazards, for example, in edible vegetable oil, for instance. And some with the food and health, some health in food and beverages to work with the industry partners to develop new products. And see here just an example. So the reports from reported by the Straits Time about our technologies, for example, in fresh vegetable, how do we get the information of the pesticide residue in a short time? So Prof. So actually is our department head, and his research fields are mainly in food engineering, processing, and functional foods. So engineering like processing modeling, process optimization, advanced process control, and the processing, especially for example, baking process. So I think for example, if you are, I think in the coming months, we will have some short video clips. So then it's can be searchable. So that is about our students doing some baking labs in our food processing lab. So this kind of food processing lab is, you can have your food and drink there is very different from many other labs. So that kind of laboratory is a food grade. So that means you can bake of food product, you can get some drink and get some, prepare some beverages, whatever. So all are edible in that kind of room. So then we do have sensory evaluation just with labeling room to this kind of processing room. So then you have opportunity to know how to evaluate these kind of different food items. And also with functional foods, I think many of us, we do have the interest, especially for example, antioxidants, isoflavones, and the probiotics, for instance. And then how about the digestion, right? How do we know that we want to know if the information, not just this kind of food item, the information before we consume it, but also after the consumption, then how about the processing steps? So these are some of the professional media, they reported our information in addition to the journals like we publish in professional journals. But we also have, as we mentioned there, we do have strong collaboration with industry. So not just the undergraduate, but also with the postgraduate, as we mentioned that, because we do have different layers. So the student can have the opportunity to work with these kind of industry partners or know the industry trends after you join our NUS FST. So you will have the opportunity to work with different industry partners. So here are just some information that our students are doing or they did. So they also reported with the information here. Of course, these are just a part of the information, right? And some information, as I mentioned, some information because the industry partner, they don't want to release this time. So we do have a lot. And these are just the general information you can have a look about with, especially for example, with the low GI of different kind of food items or with the, and here is also some examples with the research on the industry practice that are relevant to the war on diabetes. So then I think here you know this kind of information if you are in Singapore. So these are some companies that are founded by our students or our faculty members. So then pretty like some startup. And many of our works actually reported by this kind of popular media coverage. So you may have read some of the information. And the research work, one is that pretty strong of our research as our graduates, our PhD students, consecutively won the biannual this IU Force Young Scientist Award 6 times. The only university in the world got 6 times. Okay, so this is the one to see that our graduate, the quality of our graduate. And also many of our faculty members actually are working with different professional journals to serve as editor or editorial board members. So you can, I think you are studying food science, you may read some journal articles, right? So these from these kind of journals. This just give you a general idea for this kind of journal. For example, with editor or editorial board members. And we do have strong collaborations with some universities from some other countries. For example, if you are in SEA, Southeast Asian countries, then you will know Kazakhstan University in Thailand. This MCI is in Europe, and this Bogo is from Indonesia, and Tokyo University of Marine Science and technology from Japan, and Hokkaido also from Japan, and some university from China. We built up the undergraduate and the master program together with these universities. And as I mentioned, that many of our students and our staff members build up this with this spin-off companies. So Cosmos Health, as I mentioned, Prof. Huang, and then This Aurora food actually is you can see from this kind of logo, it's about muffin, right? So that's from our graduates. So they are studying bakery in science. And we do have some other many different kind of interesting sessions. For example, ice cream making sessions. So then we do have the FSC Society. So you will have the opportunity to uh, join in these kind of different activities, right? So in addition to your project work, you can learn more about the different food items, sensory evaluation, nutritional evaluation, and so forth, and so on, and the other things. And here is the information about why you studying this one. In addition to Benjamin just showed some of the items. So I would like to share with you, maybe the one is that you want to upgrade your knowledge. For example, you graduated 5 years ago. Now you want to like recharge yourself, right? To learn more about advanced knowledge or recent trends in food industry. And some others, we know that some others, maybe currently you are not working in food science or human nutrition, but if you are studying in Singapore, if you are now in Singapore, you know the government plan, right? So the government will have a huge like fund to be invested in this kind of human science and the nutrition sector. The reason is that now, due to the COVID-19, you can understand the food security is a serious issue, right? So then the government now pay attention to this research direction. So then the government plans to have a huge investment in this kind of sector. So and then you know that a lot of companies they come to Singapore as coming to Singapore as well, right? To invest in this kind of food industry. And for the modules, so then once you join our program, you will know that you may have want to know what kind of structure of our modules, right? So we separate this kind of modules into 3 clusters, okay? The first one is about food science and technology. So you plan to focus a little bit more on food science and technology, so then you can select the modules from the list more focused on this food science and nutrition, food science and technology. But some of you, maybe you want to focus a little bit more on human nutrition. So then you can choose the list more with the human nutrition of these modules. But this is a shared one, research and technical trainings cluster. So this one is no matter whether you focus on food science or human nutrition, you will take these modules. I will introduce you later. For the time, like for the candidature period, for example, how long you will stay here, for example, for finish the program. If you are a full-time student, so then the minimum is 1 year and the maximum will be 3 years. The tuition fee is the same. Of course, you may need to, for example, each semester you may need to pay a little bit with administrative fee, but the tuition fee is the same, right? So then it depends on whether, for example, some students, they want to utilize some of the time to do internship between the semesters. So then they can, for example, they can graduate in 3 semesters. But currently many students, they finish the study just within 1 year if they are full-time student. For part-time students, it's a minimum of 2 years, maybe the longest with 4 years. I think many of them, they try to finish in 2 years. So this is just a general guideline. Actually, we don't have this specific limitation. For example, if we say, my time is okay, I can deal with this kind of different modules in 1 semester, even though I'm currently a part-time student. Yes, it's fine, but normally part-time students, they may not have sufficient time, for example, to take with the same number of modules as full-time student, right? So here, this is more like a general suggestion. So this one is general idea to know that what are these modules. For example, for food science cluster, you can have rheology, texture, fermentation, microbiology analysis and safety, smart and sustainable food processing and engineering, and then advanced topics, and modern analytical techniques, bioanalytical chemistry. And for nutrition, we do have food nutrition health, scientific principles of nutraceuticals, science in clinical nutrition, and others like control of non-communicable diseases and some others, okay? So if you want to know the detailed information, you are welcome to visit our website. All of our students, we need to take these modules. One is the Advanced Food Science and Nutrition Seminar, right? So with the 4 MC. And after this, so then you need to take 5199A or 5199B. The A is about research project. So then B is about integrated food research lab. So then I will introduce a little bit the difference between them. So the first one is more relevant to a research project. So it's pretty new, right? So the second one is about lab techniques. So you want to learn some different skill basis. And the requirement for graduation is 40 MCs. So you need to take 51998 and then 99A or 99B. So together you will get 12 MCs, right? So this module, you need to get a minimum of C+, and then you need to take some other 7 modules. Can be from food science, can be from nutrition, or can be like a mixture of them. And finally, with a minimum of cap of 3.0 out of 5 overall, then you can graduate. So this one I just mentioned that you can choose one of them, right? If you are not clear, no problem. After you join our program, you can consult us for more details. But in general, one is about research, one is about technical training. And this research project, you can choose just by yourself to do it or pair with another student to form a group. Currently, our students, then after they get this kind of master degree, some are continuing with the study as a PhD student at our NUS FSD. I think currently more with international students, they are doing PhD. And for local students, especially after they're doing their part-time study here, they find the position in industry, especially related to multinational companies related to R&D, management, etc. So useful information, just to highlight some of the information, the application cycle. So currently is still ongoing, right? So the deadline will be 1st of March, okay? There's still around 1 month to go for you to apply. And then the intake is August. Right? Tuition fee, 45,000 Singapore dollars and subject to 7% GST. And then the materials only soft copy only, so you can just prepare the documents according to our website instruction. So for language requirements, with the English test results, you can easily get information from online. And for the degree, you need to have the bachelor degree with honors, or in some other countries, there's no honor system. So then it's a equivalent of a 4-year bachelor degree requirement. If not, then our requirement is that you need to have 2 years of working experience, roughly. And thank you very much. And I'm glad to take any of your questions you have.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Yang, for a very, very insightful session. I am sure the audience learned a lot more about the FST department as well as the MSc program. So let's dive straight into the portion where they can have their burning questions answered. As we transit into the Q&A segment, I will like to remind the audience once again to leave your questions for us in the chat section below, and we will strive to answer as many of them as we can. So we have the first question for the day, and in my opinion, a very appropriate question to kickstart the Q&A segment as we highlight the basic admission requirements for the MSc program. So here's the question. I have a Bachelor of Science in ICT areas. I do not have any background knowledge on food science and human nutrition. Can I still apply for this program?
In general, yes, Bachelor of Science, but still we want to have a look about your transcript. For example, you should have some chemistry, some more relevant information there. So we do have a list. For example, we are not just say only student with food science or human nutrition can apply. But this one is still pending because, for example, if you are just a pure mathematics, maybe not very appropriate. But if you are from chemistry or chemical engineering or some other like biological science, in general, yes. So another way is that, for example, if your transcript do not have much information modules with chemistry or biological science, another way is that you may need to take longer time to graduate. For example, maybe each semester you can take a little bit less. So that is the general response to this kind of question. It's very hard to say yes for all the bachelor in science, but you can check your transcript whether it's pretty relevant to biological chemistry, biological science or chemistry, or relevant, right? Still kind of relevant to our program. Then it is fine.
Thank you, Prof. Yang. So I guess to the attendee that posted this question, you can still try to submit your application. Yeah, we will try to see if there's any matching or relevant modules in your transcript. So if you're intending to do so, yeah, please do so before the 1st of March. Now to the next question, also another admissions related question. I have done my 3-year bachelor's degree in chemistry, microbiology being my secondary subject, until the 2nd year of my graduation. Am I still eligible to apply for this course? I guess the key thing to take note in this question is that this person's bachelor's degree is 3 years instead of 4 years or perhaps honors. Yeah, so Prof. Yang.
Here now is that you can check how many years you have graduated. For example, during the time, for example, now it's for the August intake, right? So then you can count how many years, for example, if you count the time you graduated, and then due to this August, whether it's around 2 years. If it's around 2 years, in general, it's fine. If just 1 year, for example, then you can wait for some time to have a little bit longer industry experience, and then you have more time to think about it.
Yes, so thank you, Prof. Yang. To add on to Prof. Yang's answer, applicants without a honors degree or a 4-year bachelor's degree are usually required to accumulate 2 years of work experience, before they submit an application. So yeah, to all applicants, that's one thing that you should take note of. All right, next question, please. Important question as well, in my opinion, because this highlights the possible career pathways upon completion of this program. So here's the question. Can we be a nutritionist upon completing this program?
Here, I think the question is this kind of nutritionist, you want to be a certified or not? If you're certified, no. Even for food science, you graduate from here, we just give you this degree, right? So for example, some of the work may be certified, for example, certified food scientist or certified nutritionist. We don't have. Our university is only responsible, for example, you graduate from this one with a degree, right? So I'm not really sure whether you have mentioned about this nutritionist is a certified one or whatever, because some of the jobs, they need to be or registered dietitian, or for example, the other one, no, the university is not responsible for any of this kind of other certificates. We only give you this kind of degree. So then for some of the jobs, then if you want to get the kind of further certification, then you may need to pass that kind of specific evaluation. So normally our universities only say give you the degree, this kind of degree, then you need to consider. So any specific job, there are further requirement. So for example, even in food science, the IFT also has a certified food scientist. Actually, currently I'm not, because the other one, you need to take further test and then you get that kind of certificate. But normally if you graduate from university, it's only you get the degree certificate, right? So from university. Maybe that is a kind of different.
All right, thank you, Prof. Yang, for highlighting that very important aspect. So I believe Prof. Yang shared in his slides earlier as well, there's a whole range of career pathways that you can embark on, upon completion of this program. So yeah, that will be important to know. Yep, so next question. We'd like to understand if the MSc or PhD program will be more suitable to candidates who have strong research interests And how would this MSc program be different from the MSc or PhD program by research? Basically, I think this person is trying to ask the difference between a coursework and a research program.
Yes, in general, yes, for the master by research or PhD, of course, the more component of research, but it does not mean that master by coursework student after graduation, they cannot continue with the research. The reason is that, as I mentioned, that we do have some research component for the master by coursework program. So then you still have the opportunity to learn it. And some students currently maybe not very sure, for example, what kind of career path I have. Then after joining this kind of master by program, by coursework program, you can consider, you can focus a little bit more on the research, no problem. So then, of course, you do have very strong research interest. Yeah, another option is there for the master by research. But for PhD program, we do have a pretty high requirement on your current research training. For example, whether you have received strong research training already. If not, maybe the PhD admission is very, very competitive. So each year we can only recruit very few candidates. So if you're not very strong, for example, research training, for example, currently you are just undergraduate, even for lab-based work is very limited, right? And we understand that due to COVID-19, some of the lab sessions maybe still is a challenging, no matter what kind of research-based work. So then you can consider with the master program first. Unfortunately, the master by research program, the current session, we finished the application already. So the last session will be before 15th May, and then the admission will be in January 2022. So then the recruitment cycle is different. As I mentioned, currently we do have some PhD students actually previously, they were master by coursework program. So it's not absolutely, for example, to separate them. Okay, this is just the research, this is just the coursework, because our coursework program, you can also have the opportunity to do research.
Thank you, Prof. Young, for enlightening us on this topic, because I think it's a very popular topic, comparing coursework and research programs. So I think the thing to take note of for all applicants and prospective students is that if you are unsure of whether are you ready to do a research program yet, you can still embark on the coursework program. And after that, attempt to progress on to a PhD program. So next question, can this MSc program be completed remotely via e-learning?
Yes and no. The yes is that some of the courses, so the student can do online, just remotely. For example, currently we do have some students, they just came to Singapore in January, but actually they started the registration from August last year, especially some Chinese students. So because of the COVID-19, so they extend the time enjoying NUS. But actually they started from remotely, right? So taking some courses already. But the problem is that another answer is no, because it's not completely remotely. As I mentioned, you need to take whether it's a 5199A or 5199B, no matter it's A or B, you need to be here to do some lab component. So that means, for example, in total, you want to spend with 2 to 3 semesters, okay? The first semester, okay, I just take some modules without this 5199A or 5199B. So I just take some other modules. Yes, all the other modules will have the video recorded. So then all the teaching material will be there. So you can access to the website and download and upload all the teaching materials, no problem. But you still need to have some time to be physical in Singapore to finish this kind of the program requirement. So that means it's a yes and no. So there's some yes, because some of the modules or some semesters, yes. But we do have some requirement. This kind of requirement, you need to be physically here to finish it. So currently, that's our structure of the program.
All right, thank you, Prof. I hope that answers the question. Yeah, and to add on, I think generally across the university, most of the programs have adopted a hybrid mode, of learning. So you can do certain components of the program via e-learning, virtual platforms, and then for certain components, you have to be physically present to use the facilities that are available on site at the university. Yep. So next question, any group projects that will be required to complete during the course? Yeah, basically any group projects during the program.
Yes, we do have a lot. So frankly speaking, for example, almost each module you will take, you will have some individual components, some with group project. So for example, I think many of you may not very clear about the requirement. Normally, for example, postgraduate module is not just the final exam, right? Final exam is just one part. It's a kind of continuous assessment. You need to do individual-based work and then some with a group-based project. And then, of course, you need to work with others together how to move forward for this kind of group project. Yes, short answer is yes, you need to have not just one module, but many modules you need to do group project.
Yes, thank you, Prof. And yeah, to add on, I think that's a very important component of all coursework programs, because the whole idea of coursework programs is to apply what you learn in the classroom into a real world setting, into the industry, because eventually you will be going out to the industry. Yep. So next question, for students who have deep interests regarding food research, specifically in original food and traditional processing, is this program suitable, and what does it offer to fulfill the project?
I think is in general is yes, because we do have different projects, and some projects proposed by professors, some projects maybe the student have the interest, then you can talk to our faculty members. Okay, so they, for example, I want to do this, so then you can get the advice from the faculty member. So it does not mean just one way, right? Some student, for example, he or she she has some interest, have some experience already in industry, and now he has an idea, he or she has an idea, and then she can talk to our faculty member to get advice. Okay, I want to define this project, and then yes, it's a lot of optional from our program. So like the modules, even for the modules, you can take, for example, the requirement is 7 from the 2 set clusters, right? So then you can take 7 all from food science, or all from nutrition, or just each with 3 or 4, whatever. And for research project, as I mentioned, it's also like this. You can propose any idea, and then the professor will give some feedback, and then some others, maybe just the professors propose some research project, and then you select from the list. So we do have different ways. Yes.
Thank you, Prof. Yeah, to the student, I hope it answers your question. So short answer is yes. If you're interested, yeah, the deadline will be 1st of March. So yeah, another admissions related question. What are you looking out for in the applicants? Yeah, general question I
yes, I think the one is that, as I mentioned, that your language requirements. So if you are not from a English-speaking country, your mother language is not English, you need to take the English test. And then for the grade, in general, the requirement is you need to have a overall cap of B, right? Or some, for example, if you are like 4-point system, then it's around the 3. So if a 5-point system, then it's a 3.5. So you see this kind of grade requirement. And then we know, actually, I mentioned that your background should be relevant, Bachelor of Science, and then some of the related of the major, right? So if you are very far away, for example, from social science, of course, it's very hard for us to recruit you to be here, and then you will feel it's very challenging to be able to graduate from our institute.
Sure. Thank you, Prof, for highlighting the admissions requirements once again, and also what you basically look out for in terms of prospective applicants. Yeah, so next question. I'm currently studying I was supposed Bachelor of Vocational Education in Food Processing and Quality Control. Can I go on to pursue this course for my postgraduate?
Yeah, I think this one, the major is not a problem. Your major is around about food processing and quality control. That's very, very relevant, right? So then, of course, you can check out admission requirements, whether you have, how about your CAP, your GPA, and then how about the, I think then you can, I think in general, you're welcome to apply our program. Yeah, you can check this kind of requirement.
Yes, thank you, Prof. And yeah, I think to add on, I think the major is not an issue, but some things to take note of is that to see if your degree is a 4 years degree or honors degree. If it's not, it's probably preferable if you go on and accumulate 2 years of work experience, and to see if your undergraduate degree is conducted in the English language. If it's not, then you probably have to go on and submit your TOEFL or your IELTS test. Yeah. So next question, any subsidies for Singapore PRs? Perhaps I will just post this question as any subsidies for Singaporeans or permanent residents.
Yeah. I think yes, but it's based on the module basis, not by this the overall tuition. Overall tuition fee is the same. So this one is the same, but because you take individual modules, right? But our full science module, for example, we list, for example, 5.1, 5.2 to 5 or whatever. Many of these kind of modules is government subsidized. So then if you are Singaporean or PR, you can get some of the discount from that one. But for other aspects, for example, the tuition fee, etc., there's no separation because this is a self-funded program. But when you choose these individual modules, you can select, we can give you some advice. For example, when you enter a program, then because we said you can choose from the list, right? So you can choose more of the modules that from the list that is subsidized by the government. So then you can get some of the refund or for these kind of modules. Yeah.
Sure, thank you, Prof. And if you don't mind, maybe I'll just add on, to this question about the SkillsFuture funding scheme. Yeah,
Sure.
for this program, there are, a lot of modules that are approved under SSG funding. Yeah, so obviously Singaporeans and Singaporean citizens that are aged 39 and below, or Singapore PRs, will receive 70% funding of each module's fee. And then for Singapore citizens that are aged 40 and above, they will receive 90% funding of each module's fee. So in order to find out the full list of modules that are funded, you can go on to the program page. We have a link there. You can see which of these modules are actually SSG approved modules. So I'm going to paste the link in the chat section below for your reference. So yeah, I think the time now is 2:30. Let's have the last question for today. Okay, here it is. For the recommendation letters, the referees are supposed to submit through the students or directly to the system after they are notified?
The students only need to write the information, contact information of the referee. Okay, for example, their email address, for example, and then once you submit the application, your referee will receive the email from us. So then they can just send out the reference report directly. That kind of reference letter they can send with the using this kind of link. We will send the link to your referee, and he or she can send out this recommendation letter for you. E-copy is fine. They do not need to send out the hard copy.
Yep, thank you, Prof. Yang. So I guess it's very simple, for applications. You just need to provide the email addresses of 2 of your intended referees. After that, your referees can have 14 days, to complete the referee report that will be sent to them. Yes, so yeah, of course, I have to thank Professor Yang, firstly, for participating in today's session and also the Q&A segment, and helping to address the wide-ranging concerns of our audience here today. And for those of you who have further questions or did not manage to get your questions answered today, because obviously there's simply too many of them, fret not. You can always reach out to us at this email here, pgc@nus.edu.sg, and our team of admission counselors will provide you with all the necessary guidance required. Also, importantly, for those of you who are intending to submit an application, the application window is currently open and will be closed by the 1st of March 2021. So be sure to gather all your documents in the next month or so and apply before the deadline to be considered for the upcoming August 2021 intake. Now, speaking of applications, before we close off today's session, we have prepared a special video for our international students. So for the next 3 minutes or so, I will encourage all of you to stay on and enjoy a visual step-by-step guide of the NUS application to enrollment process.
Has COVID-19 disrupted your overseas study plans? Don't let it get in the way of your dreams. Pursue a prestigious master's degree with the National University of Singapore. Ranked number 1 in Asia and 11th in the world by the QS World University Rankings for the year 2021. Start your journey now. Step 1. Log on to the link below to find out about the different programs that we offer. Step 2. Apply to NUS by submitting your application online via this link. Step 3. NUS will send you a letter of offer when your application is successful. Step 4. If you decide to accept the offer, make your tuition fee payment online before the stipulated deadline. Step 5. You need to then declare your travel plans on the NUS Overseas Travel Declaration System due to the COVID-19 situation. Step 6. You will need to apply for a student visa. To find out more about this, go to the Singapore Immigration and Checkpoints Authority website. Please refer to the following link. Step 7. Before enrolling, you need to complete your pre-admission medical examination. More information can be found on the following link. Step 8. You can now make arrangements for accommodation and medical insurance. There are many options to stay on campus, or you can opt for off-campus housing. NUS will help all full-time students subscribe to the university's medical insurance scheme. Step 9. You can now book a flight ticket. 3 days before arriving in Singapore, you will need to submit your arrival information and health declaration online. Please refer to the following link. We look forward to seeing you in Singapore and NUS.
All right. Thank you everyone for staying on. And I certainly hope that you have a clearer picture of the application process now. Remember, all you need to do is to submit your application by the 1st of March. And if you are shortlisted, NUS will take care of the rest. So with that, I will now bring the session to a close. Thank you once again for being such a wonderful and interactive audience today. And from wherever you are, the NUS team would like to wish that you stay safe, stay positive, and never stop learning. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and see you at NUS soon.